the fact that Interpol decided to delete the name of former Finance Minister Ken Ofori Atta permanently from its red alert. After this back and forth, you're also aware of the extradition process already started by the government. And so with Interpol now deciding to delete the name of Ken Ofori Atta from its red alert, what does it mean moving forward? What is next? And would also be going into really the latest when it comes to the extradition as well. Again, there was that unfortunate incident, that terrorist attack on a truck that was carrying tomatoes from Ghana to Burkina Faso on Saturday. We understand that terrorists attacked that truck. A number of people have been shot dead, including Ghanaians. We've already seen a statement coming from Ghana's Interior Ministry indicating that the country is collaborating with Burkinabe authorities to try and find the identities of these individuals who have been killed and also try to see the way forward. But you do know that Burkina Faso has had serious insecurity issues since at least 2015 following the decision of the people there to topple the 27-year rule of Blaise Compaoré, and subsequently Ibrahim Traoré also taking over as a military leader in 2022, and what's happening within the Sahel and all the information coming from there. Data suggests that 51% of deaths reported through terrorism come from the Sahel area. And so what does this mean for Ghana and its security? We'll be going into that. We'll be speaking to a security analyst, Dr. Victor Doke, who will be joining us via video call. But right now, let me introduce my panel in studio. I do have just on my immediate rights, Mr. Alhassan Tampoli. He's a member of parliament for Gushewu, also private legal practitioner with the opposition NPP. Good morning to you, sir. It's great to have you here.
Good morning, Beatrice. It's good to be here.
Of course, I do have as well a legal practitioner, private legal practitioner, and a member of the NDC legal team, Mr. Victor Kojogan Adaudu. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you as well for being with us this morning.
Good morning, Beatrice. It's a pleasure being here.
And I have our regular panelist with us, Dr. Bernard Tutubuahin, who is a political strategist. Doc, it's great to have you.
Yes, good morning to you. Good morning to my great lawyers and member of Parliament. It's good to be with you, and it's a great panel that we have here.
I'll be joined very shortly as well by Andrew Apia Dankwa, who is spokesperson Movement for Change. He'll be joining us in the studio, and he's also the director of legal for the United Party. And yes, he'll be joining us as well very shortly. But I was telling you that Interpol has deleted permanently the name of Ken Ofori Atta from its red alert list. And over the weekend, we saw the Office of the Special Prosecutor issuing a statement giving us a bit of flesh as regards the decision of Interpol. And I want us to go through that. Now, it says that the Office of the Special Prosecutor has received the decision of the Commission for the Control of Interpol's files concerning the red notice issued at Ghana's request for Mr. Kenneth Nanaya Ofori Atta. The Commission directed the deletion of the notice under Interpol's rules on political neutrality and notice processing, citing contextual factors at the time of issuance, including, quote, polarized political statements from members of current and former administrations about the conduct of the investigation, unquote, as well as public controversy surrounding prosecutorial and extradition processes, including public acknowledgement by senior officials at the Ministry of Justice of an inability at the time to pursue extradition due to the early procedural stage of the case. It says it's further observed that subsequent development made the notice unnecessary, as Mr. Ofori Atta's location was known, cooperation with U.S. authorities was ongoing, and extradition processes had already been initiated following his arrest in the United States on 6 January 2026. Summons issued by the Criminal Division of the High Court in Accra have been transmitted for service in the United States, requiring his appearance to answer multiple criminal charges. Efforts to secure his appearance continue through established legal diplomatic channels. The OSP reiterates that it remains guided solely by law and evidence and is committed to due process and the fair, lawful and impartial prosecution of corruption and corruption-related offences. So that was a statement issued earlier by the Office of the Special Prosecutor, giving us an understanding of the latest development when it comes to Interpol removing the name of Mr. Ofori Atta from its red alert. Let me acknowledge the presence of Mr. Andrew Appiah, who is the head of legal for the United Party. Good morning to you. It's great to have you here with us as well.
It's great to be on your show, and good morning to your lovely viewers and my two learned friends here and my doctor friend.
Perhaps I should start with you. Let me get your understanding of Interpol's decision this time around.
So let me wish your lovely viewers a good morning. So if I understand what has happened, Interpol has removed the red alert, and for me, I think it's pretty straightforward. So when you take into consideration the purpose of the red alert, as in is an alert you give to enable you what's called get hold of somebody who supposedly is a fugitive, as in somebody who is alleged to have committed an offense and is run away from the law. As things stands now, Honorable Ken Ofori Atta is in custody, not necessarily in Ghana's custody, but he's in custody in the US, albeit for a different what's called issue. Everybody in the world knows where he is, and so for me, then this whole red alert, in my opinion, has no benefit. Because see, the focus of the red alert is not to necessarily embarrass people. As in the focus of the red alert is to aid in dispensing with justice, so that if at the end the person for which the red alert was placed on what's called is known, as we all know where he is, then for me, I think it wouldn't make sense to still keep the red alert. So I agree with Interpol's stance on this. What's called, I think, you see, what all this brings to the fore once again, and as in when you read the comments by the OSP, you must understand that in 1992, when we took our constitution, we all agreed that one of the fundamental principles that will guide our constitution, that will guide this constitutional democracy, is the principle of the rule of law. And we are all supposed to be, or presumed to be, innocent until proven so. And I think that that principle extends to Honorable Ken Ofori Atta, and the OSP ought to be guided by law and by the principles of the rule of law in how everything is being handled. I think if there's something that we have all failed, all of us, is in making this case look very political and very partisan. And so, even though, in my opinion, this is clearly a case or an investigation that ought to affirm our commitment to the principles of probity and accountability. But the way the discourse has been handled, the fact that the OSP, in my opinion, did not have the courage to pursue these actions when His Excellency Nana Addo was still in office, and had to take the steps he's taking now when they left office, gives credence to the view that probably this case is being politically motivated. So for me, I think it brings to the fore the whole discussion about the OSP, about the need for an OSP who's really independent, because as in the way the OSP was set up, it still takes, as in, not from, as in the OSP is not a creation of the Constitution. The OSP, the Act itself, takes its powers from the AG. You get a point. And the way the OSP has handled this case clearly shows that, for all intents and purposes, the OSP is not independent.
So if I hear you clearly, you're saying that we're where we are because the OSP failed to do what it had to do in the first place.
Yeah, because the whole idea of creating the OSP was to have an anti-corruption czar who was truly independent of the Attorney General, who could not be controlled by the executive. And yet, in how we created the office of the OSP, the OSP, per the act that created it, takes its authority more or less from the AG. It's like the OSP is like an agent of the Attorney General. And to give credence to my view, strangely, these offenses that Ken Ofori Atta is purported to have committed happened during the Ezra regime. And yet the OSP could not have the courage to initiate these actions until what's called Nanado left office. You understand? Giving credence to a belief that really the OSP is not independent. If it were, then for me, the OSP ought to explain why these actions, these steps were not initiated during Nanado's regime, and he could only take these steps when it was called the lost power, bringing into sharp focus and bringing or creating the need for us to have a conversation about anti-corruption institutions, whether or not they are, in terms of how they are created, in terms of the institutions, whether or not we've placed them in a position to deliver their money. One country, we have OSP, we have IOCO, we have Shiraj, we have Attorney General, we have CID, we have police, and all these institutions purport to be what's called fighting corruption. You understand? So for me, I think if we are really committed to the fight against corruption, and we ought to be committed to the fight against corruption because of the losses occasioned by way of corruption, then, and if indeed we are committed to creating a body which is not meant to be partisan, which is not meant to be under the control of the executive, then we must do it properly. And to do it properly, in my view, is to have this body created by the Constitution itself.
Just very briefly, before I come to you, Lawyer Victor Dawodu, what I hear you say, aside from the problem with the Attorney General's department and the fact that the special prosecutor is not independent, as it were, you're also saying that if that office had acted in time, we would not have been in a situation where it looks like discussions around this very issue became political, which is one of the reasons Interpol has decided to take him off.
No. So there are two different issues here. I'm saying that Interpol, I support Interpol taking him off because then was the we all know where Ken is. So why do you still keep him there? Are you keeping him there because you want to embarrass the man or what? Because for me, that should not be the focus. We want justice. You understand? And what justice per the law. You understand? And that's why the OSP is saying, because you see, in 1992, like I'm saying, one of the cardinal principles that underpins our constitutional democracy is the principle of the rule of law. And that principle, in fact, dictates that we should all be presumed to be innocent. And to proving guilty. As things stands now, Ken Ofori Atta is presumed, or we should presume that he is innocent. But having said that, and you see, when you read the Interpol tool, see, they don't want to, and in fact, and this issue will come also in the extradition issue, they don't want to use extradition to support cases that are perceived to be politically motivated.
Let me get your thoughts, Lawyer Dawodu, and I'll read the second paragraph of the statement coming from the Office of the Special Prosecutor to you again. It says the Commission directed the deletion of the notice under Interpol's rules on political neutrality and notice processing, citing contextual factors at the time of issuance, including, quote, polarized political statements from members of current and former administrations about the conduct of the investigation. You must be concerned that amongst all the other reasons Interpol gave, this is also one major thing that is said, which is the reason we are where we are.
Yeah, good morning, Beatrice, and good morning to the good people of Ghana. You see, let's really get what actually a red notice is, because we are here to educate people, and this is a global law enforcement request that is made to the countries, other countries where there is police, that they want somebody to trace somebody and know where the person is so that they may arrest the person for provisional arrest and maybe to extradite the person. So what they do, so it is not an international arrest warrant, no, right? So it's just to give notice to the police in all the countries where you are a member that we are tracing. We don't know the location of this suspect. And normally it is based on a court order or a national order. What I understand is that it is becoming moot, the red notice, in the sense that now, as we speak, we know where Ken Ofori Atta is. He can be traced. There has also been an extradition order that has been made to the United States government, and they are following. So keeping the red notice over there has become moot. And I think this is one of the reasons why even OSP itself says that, look, it's become moot, we know where he is. And it is not only to face maybe an inquiry or the criminal prosecution. OSP has even said that there are multiple criminal charges. And I'm sure there are other charges that the Attorney General itself is looking at. The mere fact that it's been removed does not negate the fact that there is an albatross hanging your neck to come and answer for suspected crimes that has been committed by you. It is still there. So it doesn't mean that he's been taken off, he's been left off the hook. No, that's not the issue at all. And I can tell you that because extradition is a process between two governments, and it also calls for due diligence, in that it must be a crime within the United States, what we are alleging that he has committed. If they don't see that as a crime, it becomes one of the difficulties. The other issue is that yet maybe what society has been polarized, the Ghanaian society, because everybody has a right to make comment on political issues. And I'm sure the summation of the issues that have been looked at, that is why they have come to the conclusion that it might be for political purposes. And when it comes to political purposes, people think that we are going to be persecuted by my opponents. And unfortunately, these allegations only came out when there had been a new government. So if there was an old government, there was no way we were going to know that there had been issues of allegations of criminal enterprise, criminal activities, and we want him to come and answer.
So the point has to do with the commentary, the public commentary, including from the country's Attorney General, the kind of public comments that were made, making it sound like he was being prosecuted politically.
You know, one of the issues that as a country we have is that people always feel, and you know, that when there are issues which has political undertone and it is drummed, you know, all over, the judiciary, especially in this country, does not want to touch it. It always tells you that these are political issues. So where there is sometimes suspicion of crime and others, people think that, look, when we are able to get people in the media, in the social media, making noise about it, that this is persecution, then it might constitute what they say is politically motivated.
So you disagree that the public commentary from
I think the public
government
commentary,
officials, even including AG,
the AG,
might have
AG
added
was
up to this?
performing a constitutional duty. The constitutional duty he was performing is that under Article 21 going, it says that in a democratic society, you need to have sufficient information. Now, what's that sufficient information? We are talking about the public purse. what the taxpayers' money have been used for. So he was only giving information to the people to carry out, look, it is your money. This is how we have realized it's been used. And at the end of the day, we want the people to come and account for their stewardship. So I don't see anything to say that if the Attorney General of the country decides to give the people information as to his investigation, and it's a standard practice, and he gives that information, and you say because of the information that will constitute a political purpose or a political interference, in that light, I disagree.
You disagree?
Yes. Now, quickly, let me just react as to my learned friend, Apia Dankwa, was saying. You see, on this occasion, I think that I'll hold brief for the OSP. You know, when the OSP was there, he's the second person to take that position.
After Amidu?
Yeah, after Martin Amidu. What happened? We all know Martin Amidu to be a fearless, bold person. But at the end of the day, he has to run for his life. He had to run for his life. Now, the current OSP, when all this was happening, there was no way he could have touched some issues. Because, look, there was an attempt to assassinate the OSP. That is known to the security apparatus, even the service commanders. It is known to them just because there was an issue which was dealing, a scandal they wanted to investigate. And the law enforcement institutions were refusing. It was an issue. A director from the same institution was crossed, right, by another law enforcement institution. They wanted to take it. It is known. It's just that it did not come because of some national security issues.
Because people were questioning even why he decided to file it at the time if his life was really under threat.
No, it is, and I'm telling you that, look, it is only a fool.
Seriously.
No. From where I sit.
No, Victor.
No, from where I sit. No, from where I sit, and I know. And I'm telling you, right? And I'm telling you. You see, so it's not like I come here, I never come to media and spew anything, allegations, right? But this will not be for public consumption. That is why it did not come
then why
out.
are you saying it?
No, he's saying that OSP did not act. And the circumstances under which Ken Ofori Atta left this country, right? If they tell you, it is a mystery. Whether he knew or he didn't know. Whether he could have acted.
But he said he knew, which was why people bashed him for not acting when he knew he was getting out of the country.
We got to know afterwards. He got to know afterwards. You see, it is not everything that they come to public and give the information, taking into consideration national security issues, right? So when people are bashing some officers at a point in time, when they do good things, praise them. When they do wrong, you can criticize them. But all I'm saying is that if you look at the circumstances under which he left, right? And I'm sure that there was no way the national security apparatus wouldn't have known.
Mr.
Right?
Tampoli.
But he couldn't have acted. And now why is it that the issues are coming and now he's bolding? It is because this government is not deciding that go after this case, take this case or no. He's been left to operate, and he's operating. So I'm telling you that there have been precedent to show, right from Martin Amidu's time to his time, that there have been challenges, systemic, which has been put in by the same people who have appointed you and want you to do. At the end of the day, they are also human beings. They fear for their lives. They fear for their family. So it gets to a point, they just have to allow some things to go. I was just answering Apia Dankwa's issue.
Mr. Tampoli, your thoughts?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning and to you, of course, my colleagues on the panel, and then to your distinguished viewers across the country, and especially to the good and virtuous people of Gushegu, my constituency. So I'm happy to be here this morning. after a very long leave of absence.
Leave without pay.
Leave without pay. I mean, you approved our application, so that's how come we stayed out for a while. So today we are back, and I'm happy to be the first person to appear on your panel after our long absence.
It's good.
So this issue about Ken Ofori Atta is a very heavily flogged issue, and we've been talking about Honorable Ken Ofori Atta's issues for God knows how long. And one of the things that has brought us to where we are today is just some of the things that my very good friend Victor is saying. And Interpol is not like any institution that you can manipulate. They work based on facts, the evidence, and whatever intelligence that they gather behind the scenes. So when Interpol, an agency such as Interpol, comes out with a decision such as this, it has been very well considered. So one of the things that Interpol takes into consideration before deletion of some of these red notices, one, the grounds, is political, military, religious, and other considerations that violates and contaminate Article 3 of Interpol's constitution. That is one. Two, if there are procedural flaws in the process, then Interpol might consider deletion. The third one is when there is false information. Information is palpably false. They procure false information and the Interpol issues red alert, red notice. Then definitely they will have to delete. And finally, when you issue a red notice on the head of a refugee, a known refugee. So just for the benefit of viewers, these are four, main considerations for deletion. Now, in this particular instance, Interpol itself, in its statements, it appears of a predominantly political character, this issue. And it shall be deleted permanently. What it means is that everything that has gone to Interpol, including comments that have been made by state officials, conduct by known NDC people at the U.S. Embassy, for instance. Comments such as what we are hearing from my very good friend, Kojoga Adawudu. These are the things that inform Interpol's decision. And Interpol is not an NDC wing that you can, just throw up stuff and say that, Interpol is an MPP thing, they are this, that. I mean, this is a permanent deletion and permanent embarrassment to the government of Ghana. Regardless of your political persuasion, you should know that things that we do have implications. I will not be surprised that going forward, all these extradition requests and so on and so forth would also be permanently banished.
Why do you think so?
Because
especially when the government has submitted reasons.
You see, the reasons I'm saying this is because the U.S. government and other such Western governments are very particular about issues of political persecution. You persecute a person on the basis of his political ideology, on his political conscience and thoughts. That's definitely they will come after you. You understand? So I'm not too sure how this is going to pan out, but every day we hear about this case, it's as if we just want to grab this man, come what may. And it gives international community some jittery about what it is that we are doing. But let me come back to the issue of Martin Amidu running away. I'm not too sure. Don't be surprised to receive an epistle from Martin Amidu. Oh. Because Martin Amidu is not, a timorous soul. If he relinquished the position, it will be for very good reasons. It is not as if he's a very, timorous person who is afraid of somebody.
I think he did mention that. He did mention that. What he said just a second
but you see, Beatrice, if you allow me to flow.
I'm allowing you to flow. I'm just saying that he said that there were structures. Okay, you go ahead.
I didn't say what you are saying.
You are saying that. You are saying that even the very courageous Matiamidu flee, right? And so whatever is happening to the current OSP should be viewed in the face of what has happened to Matiamidu. Nothing happened to Matiamidu. It's based on his own conviction. He left. And look, there's nothing more damning and more embarrassing than the removal of a Chief Justice of the Republic. We're talking about somebody trying to assassinate. In fact, these are categorical statements that he's making, and you haven't even asked him to provide proof.
But what has that? Look, what has the removal of the Chief Justice?
Beatrice, I'm saying that. Why would you allow him to make such a statement that his life, OSP's life, is in danger? Assassination attempt. Assassination attempt.
Himself.
The Ministry of Interior also wrote to him and requested him to give them further information. Right? Because you couldn't have made conclusive statements like that. And here you are repeating the statements as if it has been grounded in some evidence and so on and so forth. What is it that he knows that we don't know? Do you work with the OSP? And that makes the case even worse, because now you are speaking for the OSP. When you start speaking for the OSP, it becomes political.
No.
Because as a senior member of the NDC, when you come and say some of these things, it's difficult not to link it with, an attempt to make the office of the social political an arm of the NDC. They speak for themselves every now and again. In fact, they are very, very conscious of their space. And so when you come and say that the office of the special prosecutor is under, stress and so on and so forth, that's not true. When Honorable Ken Ofori Atta was traveling out of the jurisdiction, it was during the transition period. He wrote a letter, formally notified the chairperson of the transition team, and then the co-chair, in this case, Honorable Frema Opari, who is the chief of staff of Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo's government, and Honorable Julius Debra. Both of them were notified, and a long list of copy addressees in that letter was published in the public domain. So there was nothing hidden about the travel of Honorable Ken Ofori Atta out of the jurisdiction. He properly notified the right people and he left. And he stated reasons why he was going out of the jurisdiction.
So you're saying that the special prosecutor was just giving us excuse?
No, so I don't even want to hold brief for special prosecutor whether he's giving us excuse or not. But what I'm stating the facts as they are. So when Honorable Ken Ofori Atta traveled out of the country, his main reason was that he was going to seek medical attention. All right? And within that period, he had to be prepared to undergo a prostate cancer surgery, which he undertook in June 2025, after which they gave him time to recuperate and also to be visiting, the hospital every now and again. So the facts are very well documented, and the OSP had access even to the Manu Clinic.
But, Mr. Tankoli, aren't you evading some of the information giving us? Because there was a statement that came from the special prosecutor that indicated that Ken Ofori Atta's lawyers had written, they didn't seem to have given details even of his medical case or where he was, and subsequently that line that he was going to be out of the country almost like indefinitely was suspicious to the OSP that he did not intend to come back, which was why he started the processes eventually leading to the red alert.
That's the conclusion that the OSP drew from the letter. Of course, you could draw any conclusion, but the fact of the matter is that I'm stepping out to go and seek medical attention. I'm not too sure when I'm going to be released back. So you can't be definite about the fact that after this surgery, the surgery might go well, it may not have gone well. All right? So leave it in the hands of the medical people to make a determination formally that, okay, in view of the success of the surgery, you can leave for anywhere in the world on so and so dates. Any day from that date, thereafter you could leave. So basically, what it is that I think that we've over-politicized this issue to the extent that even the international committee has taken notice.
But the politicization was also on the part of the MPP. The statement from the special prosecutor said that.
Said what?
Said that the political statement came from both the current and former administration. So you should also admit
we were responding
that you made it look like the government was
but you see, it was not an issue until it came out in the media.
No, but you admit that that's the same statement that faulted the current government also said that your commentary also suggested that the current government
The former government.
Yes.
The former government.
Yes.
Nothing came up during the former government.
No, but it says that statement from both current and former administration members.
Yes, so if he says, for instance, for instance, if
let me ask my question. You admit
yes,
that statement from members of the former administration also politicized it, making it look like the current government was
with all due respect. You see, you make issue, you put somebody's issue on the front burner, all right? You discuss, adumbrate, and then turn the issues left, right, center, and then we cannot respond. We have a right to respond and then set the record straight. That's what we are doing. And so in setting the record straight, definitely they will take notes and say that the government said A, B, C, D, and then the minority also said A, B, C, D. So, and we have to even make those statements forcefully on TV, on radio, everywhere, press conferences and so on, just to establish the fact that the man is presumed innocent.
How do you interpret this then?
Or he himself admits that he's
you're saying that the public commentary of the current government showed that indeed they wanted to hang Ken Ofori Atta at all costs, but you're saying that your explanation was rather to set the record straight. How do you explain
But it is what it is. I mean, what power do we have? Do we have any power to prosecute him? We don't have any power of arrest. We don't have any power of prosecution, and neither do we address any press conferences on a regular basis as the Attorney General does. The Attorney General will do the press conference, and then the government or whatever government machinery will support him. And commentators like us, like my very good friend Andrew, I didn't know whether you were introducing him as Movement for Change or UP.
He's with the United Party. Formerly Movement for Change.
So I wasn't too sure. I wasn't too sure about his capacity. So thanks for clarifying. But they are coming back home. They're coming back home. They're coming back home. But you see, what?
You come.
UP plus.
UP plus is a home. So you come.
You know, UP was formed in 1957, October 1957, if you remember.
Conclude on your thoughts, and I'll go to Dr. Bernard Tutuwahi.
The truth of the matter is that this government has really caused us national and international embarrassments, and they have to go and step back, re-examine the way and manner that they do some of these things. A government is seeking to extradite Ken Ofori Atta back into Ghana, but it's not pursuing any extradition seriously or vigorously with regards to somebody who is a fugitive that's been convicted and sentenced. And she is in the same jurisdiction in the United States. Sedina. All right? That should tell you something. This is a government that came into power and withdrew cases against NDC appointees, then who had been, some of them were at advanced stages of, prosecution and so on and so forth. Practically whitewashed everybody and brought in new set of, political appointees. That should tell you that it is a political persecution. Absolutely. Because otherwise, when MPP came into power, no political, prosecution was terminated. No case was withdrawn. Regardless of who was involved, every case continued on its own merits until its termination. NDC comes to power, they quickly remove everybody who is known to be an NDC person and replace them with MPP people. I mean, clearly.
Is that not what
we are talking about? We are talking about political appointees who were undergoing trial for corruption and corruption-related cases. Afoko was not undergoing any prosecution based on corruption.
You heard this.
You understand? And of course,
Mr. Tampoli, the Attorney General gave the reasons he acquitted those individuals, as it were. You don't think that those reasons were...
So one of them, for instance, was that if you are deemed to have, committed some corruption or corruption-related cases to a certain amount of money, there is a formula, 60-40. You remember that you base 60% and then the state will discontinue the case. Now, the same Attorney General has been heard many, many times saying that this 60-40 is not available to others. It is only available to NDC people.
Again, what has this got to... I go back to my question.
It is only available to NDC people.
I go back to my question.
What more is more political persecution than some of these things?
I go back to my question of what this has got to do with Ken Ofori Atta's case, especially when Interpol statement actually blamed both parties.
No, we cannot be blamed because we are not in power.
Let me get the thought
you understand? We are not in power. We don't initiate these things.
Yes. What's your own understanding of what's happening right now?
All right. So, good morning once again. Good morning to our viewers, and good morning to my colleagues at University of Education, Winneba. Special greetings goes to all UTAG members of UEW.
We will pay your allowances.
UTAG?
Yes.
Oh, yes. We are actually, I don't know whether you are referring to the strike.
Yes, the strike.
Actually, UTAG is not on strike. It is Gawa.
Gawa, okay.
That is on strike.
Okay. Yes.
Yes.
Is coming.
Idris.
Yes, sir.
It's quite interesting. I mean, when you read thoroughly the letter issued by CCF, all right, 3 pillars of that letter. Okay, the first one has to do with the political character. The second has to do with the procedural concerns. And then the third one, the operational irrelevance. And these are, the basis or the reasons why CCF decided to come up with its decision. And obviously, when you look at the reasons behind the political character, CCF seems to suggest that, they actually would look at the Interpol's, regulations and laws. And in this case, Article 3, which seems a bit contradictory, to the request by the OSP, saying that, the reasons and other evidence that they have picked seems to them that the whole request is politically motivated, and for which reason it is against the Article 3 of, their laws. All right. Okay. The second one, which has to do with procedural concerns, it's my problem, basically. And I feel that I will agree with Lawyer Pierre Dankwa, on his position on the SP, Special Prosecutor, and the OSP. Because the reason is that the data that the OSP submitted, basically is insufficient and non-compliant. Why should an office of this repute, representing the interests of Ghana, representing the good people of Ghana, wouldn't do any due diligence, when it comes to matters of this nature? And then you submit documents that will not support your claim. Obviously, as it is, that case or that request was flawed from the very beginning. And even if you look at, past issues that has happened between the OSP and the Attorney General, where the two of them seems not to even agree on this issue about, getting Ken Ofori Atta, to come or to even declare him as a fugitive. So it means that between the two of them, it seems that they were not in agreement. A kind of confusion between them. The third one has to do with the operational relevance. And the issue is this, as lawyer, raised earlier, that Ken's location was known. And if the man's location was known, why would you want to still hold on to this request? All right? Must you even go to the CCF or Interpol, for them to act? Straight away, when you understand the merits of what you are asking for, and you feel that it doesn't fit in, okay, a square peg in a round hole will not fit, why wouldn't you withdraw to save your face from future disgrace and all that? But you still maintain your position, and you did what you did. Now, the only hope that you have as OSP is that you are not dependent on what will happen between Ken Ofori Atta and ICE. Why should that be? So if that also hits the rock, which I strongly believe that ICE may not extradite Ken Ofori Atta in the first place, looking at the trend of the issues, and even evidence, what has Interpol has even done, the CCF has even done, I strongly suspect that if ICE is going to look at the merit of the, the report by CCF, which probably may inform their decision, then of course, the request of extradition would equally hit the rock.
So you're saying that irrespective of the statement we heard from the Attorney General that indeed they had submitted what was needed, even to an extent that the U.S. Embassy also gave a statement saying that they would not interfere or be a blockade when it comes to the government of Ghana trying to extradite Ken Ofori Atta to the country.
Yes, so what in essence it means is that if U.S. says we are not going to intervene, we are not going to be a hindrance or whatever, it means that probably they are isolating themselves. But beyond that, it also means that they are going to use the process and procedures within, the U.S. courts, and when it comes to issues of extradition, to determine the case. And when we study that extradition processes, in U.S., I think about 4 or 5 of them, it is not just, as easy as a ripe mango, on a tree which probably you can just plug and consume without anybody asking you anything. Okay, so I'm saying that there are so much complications that if the OSP, had thought about it, probably we wouldn't have gotten to where we've gotten to. All right. The implications is what, again, makes me wonder as to what the OSP didn't see or saw, to probably have his position firmed. In the first place, I think that this ruling, provides that kind of freedom to Ken Ofori Atta, that he can now travel wherever he wants to go, except for probably the detention by ICE, isn't it? Yes. Now, what it means is that this even complicates, again, the ruling complicates the processes and provides defense to Ken and his team, as I said earlier, with regards to, the 27 people case that is going to be heard. And if some of these things, are taken into consideration, then of course, we are in to see something, interesting. I feel that I don't want to go into, the relationship between Ghana and US and all that, but I feel that there may be pressure for accountability, all right, as far as Ken Ofori Atta's case is concerned. But what I see is that when it comes to high-profile cases of this nature, I think that, this is a kind of exposure and a matter of concern, not just to OSP, but again to Yoko the Attorney General's office, and all that. Because what I see is that there's a major weakness, in high-profile cases of this nature, especially when it relates to corruption and all that. Not just in Ghana, but even across Africa, because when you follow issues concerning extraditions and all that, most of the countries that have sent, requests for extradition, across Africa have failed, right? And I believe that we need to probably look out for a better way, to manage some of these things than probably always setting up controversies, generating controversies, turning issues into political defenses and political accusations and all that. I think that it wouldn't serve this country, any good when we continue within these tangents.
Lawyer Apia Dankwa, Lawyer Adawudu says he disagrees with some of the points that you made earlier. I wonder what your response is to him.
Well, I wonder if he disagrees or not. Really, I don't see that.
Some of the points you made.
He was essentially giving a reason why he felt that the OSP couldn't act. But see, what it does is that it reaffirms my position. Because you see, the whole idea, when we were having a discussion prior to what's called setting up the OSP, the whole view was that we're going to create a body that was independent, that was truly independent of political control. And then the need for us to have a body that was truly independent so that corruption that related to people in government can be done without any influence. And then, strangely, when we were setting up the body, we set up a body that really takes its authority from the Attorney General. We all know that even though the Attorney General is the only minister provided for explicitly in our constitution, the Attorney General is an appointment of the President. And if the OSP is under the authority of the AG, and by extension, we can comfortably say that the OSP is under the authority of the President. And you see evidence in that failure, in the failure to show his true independence in the trajectory of the case against Ken Ofori Atta. So what my brother, my learned friend, is simply saying that is trying to reaffirm my view that the OSP is not what's called independent for all intents and purposes. Having said that, I think for the purpose of education, certain facts have been said here that ought to be corrected. See, the view has been given by my learned friend, Tampuli, that the letter written by Ken, yes, so Ken indeed wrote a letter. Ken wrote a letter informing, what's it called, the transition team about the need, about his need to travel. But in that letter, if you read the letter, he gave a clear date of returning. He said the medical what's called issue that stated his need to travel was going to, I think, end on the 28th of January. You understand? Now, the letter where he said he was going to be away indefinitely was a letter that I think he wrote to the OSP himself, subsequent to the earlier,
after all the drama.
Then he wrote a letter saying that he did not know when he was going to return. And so I think we only ought to get that fact.
In addition to that as well, there was also another letter because you were saying that you don't understand why the special prosecutor interpreted it that way. There was another letter, I just want to read that to you briefly before. He says, and that came from the Mayo Clinic where he was. And this is dated the 14th of May, 2025. He says, "Dear sir or madam, I'm writing to inform you that Mr. Ofori Atta has undergone an MR-guided biopsy and has been diagnosed with prostate cancer. A surgical intervention has been deemed necessary after the testing." It goes on to say that, as indicated in my February letter, this surgical procedure has been scheduled for June 13. But if you go to the second paragraph, it says, following the procedure, Mr. Ofori Atta will require a recovery period before he is able to travel to his home country. And this also didn't have any date. And subsequently, there seem to have been letters that didn't give any scope that Mr. Ofori Atta was coming back, which was why the special prosecutor went ahead and initiated those procedures.
Indeed, during the last, Ofori Atta is in front of us. The understanding I'm getting is that even the steps that we ought to take to so-called extradition hasn't been done.
They've
started.
It started. There's discussion between
so discussion.
the US
We were fantastic discussion. We were from January. My view about all this, my view about this whole Feta thing, clearly shows a fundamental lack of commitment by us, the politicians in this country. By us, the politicians in this country, to uphold the principle and value of probity and accountability, and it feeds into the political culture that we have in this country. And I am convinced that everything we are doing with Ken Ofori Atta is just something. Let's do something to represent something. And when I'm saying that, I need to also bring in how we are handling Madam Tamaklu's issue, and how we've handled all political related corruption issues in this country. Why are we doing politics? It is necessary. Why have we created a culture where right now politics is the most lucrative profession? But politics has become the most lucrative. I watched a movie where a Ghanaian movie, the woman was advising the daughter that she should go and look for a politician. And she should make sure that the politician is either in MPP or NDC. Not our fault. You see, you should be MPP. You see, at that time, I was still in the MPP.
Okay.
Now, because of the failure of the politics we are doing in this country to deliver the purpose of politics. The purpose of politics ought to create virtuous men, ought to create a state that is strong, ought to create a country where our ambitions as citizens, as individuals, can best be met. You understand? But because of this culture, so MPP, as in my brother Tampuye, is so certain that latest by 2032, he will come back to power. 2032, as in your mind. So the 2028, let's try and see. But in your mind, but I'm talking about what.
Careful, we don't come after.
You see, I'm coming. So in the way we do our politics here, so it's then okay. If 2028 doesn't work, if 2028 doesn't work, 2032, dear, we are coming back. And then my brother, at the office, says, okay, we have 8 years to do whatever we will do. There's no guarantee that we'll have time beyond the 8 years. You understand? That is the culture here. So whatever you do,
but
make sure
it's not any different in the US. Democrats,
please,
let him land. I'll come to you for your final thoughts.
Against the Republicans.
There's nothing wrong. Please listen to what I'm saying. There's nothing wrong with you wanting to, in fact, that's what you should want. Because you believe that governance ought to be done in the same way.
That's what political parties are meant for.
Please let me land.
Let him land, I'll come to you.
You see, I want us to get this clear. I don't have an issue with us wanting power, because we all want power. You understand? But you want power because you believe that governance ought to be done in a certain way. You understand? And I'm saying that when you do politics and when you understand what politics is, then the end goal should be to create virtuous men. But to create a virtuous man, first of all, the easiest way to do that is to get power. You understand? You can still create virtuous men, help create virtuous men without power, because I can tell you, I'm convinced that MPP did much more for this country. MPP did much more for this country between the periods of 92 and 2000 when they did not have power. With their push, they leading the reforms that consolidated this democracy. You understand? However, you can do even much more when you have power. Unfortunately, our politics have become so Machiavellian that when they get power, their focus is not to create virtuous men. Their focus is how do I sustain myself in power? And that feeds into the decisions they take. Because how can you justify why MPP would decide to spend about 5 billion on NAPCO and just 400 million on one of their most transformational policies, the 1D1F? How can you justify why NDC will come and will scrape the 1D1F? Because if it's not being done well, maintain it and improve on it. But the key is, how do we sustain ourselves? And you see this in even how we are handling the cocoa issue. You understand? We criticize for criticizing sake, we oppose for opposing sake. We do not have the interest of the state at hand. And we see this in how Ken's matter is being, handled. Because once again, I'm saying that we took a constitution that says that, listen, we are going to be governed by the rule of law.
Yes.
You understand? We took a constitution that said that we are going to be pushed by the principle of probity and accountability. So that, and perception is everything. You need to carry the people along. So immediately you come and without great justification, you stop all prosecutions. And then Ken's matter, there's really no commitment to pursue it. Madam said, we don't see great effort. Then people will question, why then do you need the power in the first place? And that's what I'm saying, that if really we are committed to a principle of probity and accountability, let us use Ken's matter, first of all, to correct the structural inefficiencies in how the OSP was created. Let's really look at how our anti-corruption laws are scattered. Ask this now, do we have a body of laws that clearly defines what corruption is? Again, let us consolidate all our laws and let's show real commitment to fighting corruption and create a system where we will create virtuous men.
You say what's in the Criminal Act 29 is not enough?
No, so you have...
especially Section 240, but that, yes, talks about election, but...
Election, so even with the election issue, how can you justify why it was in the division of corruption in elections? It just has to do with public elections. So in the internal party elections, where most of the corruption happens, there's no law that governs it. You understand? And straight you see that
it's not defined.
You understand? That's what I'm saying. Let's consolidate and let's show real commitment. You understand? From where I sit right now, our political culture is too Machiavellian and is too parochial. And because of that, we are not seeing the ends of initially I thought we were going to talk about even the insecurities here. But because we are unable to create virtuous men, the young people in this country are largely unemployed. The devil will find job for idle hands. And because of that, it portends real national security issues for all of us. So I'm saying that let's show real commitment and deal with what's called this corruption. Now, I'm glad my brother Tampu is here. He actually has raw power still. Because you are still in Parliament.
Mr. I'll come for your final word, but I want to get, because I realized that Mr. Tampoli wanted to react to. So let me get your final word briefly, and then we'll move to the attack in Burkina Faso.
You know, political parties, much as they are supposed to be non-governmental, their elections are considered public elections. Yeah. All right? And this is established in law. Especially, I think, in the case that involved Dr. Obeda Samoa. Avalifo, correct. That case establishes that political parties are public, like more or less public institutions. So their elections are also governed by it. So
Honorable, it means that elections held within a party, like delegates,
internal contests and all of that.
Those ones are still public.
That's right.
Okay. So people can be held liable for
easily, and that's why we are utterly disappointed with the verdicts on.
So I want Mr. Tampoli, I want you to wrap up on your thoughts, and I'll come to Mr. Adaudu.
EC is the one who is
contracted by the party. EC doesn't just...
No, the party themselves.
The party contracts the EC.
The party contracts says that they should supervise.
No, the party contract.
We contract them.
We can debate this.
Yes, of course. You can do your own elections. That's why the parties have elections committees. They can choose to do it themselves, but in order to ensure fairness and to create a sense that this election is not going to be manipulated by one or two people, they put it in the hands of the known election committee, which is the Electoral Commission itself. So, but I think that this issue about special prosecutor itself, you have made a very passionate call for the neutrality, independence, boldness, and so on and so forth. Now, currently, with what is going on with the OSP, I'm not too sure whether they even have the presence of mind to do their work the way that they should. Now, you had the majority leader, a leader of government business, a majority chief whip, bringing private members bill,
yes.
to Parliament to completely extinguish the office of the special prosecutor. Now that is threatening enough, and put the office, the special prosecutor and his staff on the edge. So they go to bed, they don't even know what Parliament is going to do next. So you don't have the predictability, the certainty that this office will continue to operate. Then you now have a litany of petitions
coming in
for the removal of the special prosecutor. And these are happening during this regime. So when you talk about threats against the office, look more now than what has happened in the past, which can't even be seen and deciphered by anybody. So let's continue to give, the special prosecutor and his staff good sleep, for them to have some boldness, predictability, and certainty to work. Because you see, the fear is that long after the special prosecutor is done prosecuting MPP people, they are going to come after those who are in power. You understand? Because what is there to go and prosecute about any MPP person again? But the office continues to be in existence. So they may come after us. Is that why they want to remove them?
Is that your final thought?
So please, let's give special prosecutor the room to operate. They are not infallible. They will make mistakes. Just like the police make mistakes, the Attorney General, even the government itself. Cocoa Board has committed a mistake of monumental proportion right now.
Which was
to the extent that cocoa farmers, the number of cement bags that they could buy if they sell a bag of cocoa, they can't buy the number of.
Mr. Sampoli, I think your time is up.
These are some of the things that we should be looking at.
Mr. Daudu,
and not
when you mess up
frivolous, fight against the special prosecutor.
Mr. Daudu, you
pay the cocoa farmers.
Yes.
You have the
pay
floor.
them 6,500 cedis that you promised them during the election. Pay them 6,000 that the finance minister promised them when he raised the 2025 budget. You should pay them that money.
Mr. Sampoli, your time is
For the first time, we are seeing a reduction in the price of cocoa.
Mr. Sampoli, your time is up.
They've created a mess.
Well, if you can sell gold
Hard
and run
decisions
at a
have been
loss,
taken.
how much more cocoa?
Now,
Mr.
see,
Sampoli,
You sell gold and then you run at a loss.
Mr. Daudu, please,
How
go
much you sell
ahead.
cocoa to you run at a
Yes.
loss?
No, let me run up of this.
Yes.
You see, on the Ken's issue, he has a choice. He can use the legal systems to come to Ghana or not. There is an option for the Attorney General to do trial in absentia, right? But nobody, whether he comes or not, there are consequences, ramifications for him and his family. Where I sit as Kojoga Daudu, I don't think anybody is going to tell me that my father ran away after he was called to account. That will not be part of my family history, right? Nobody will say my father has been handcuffed before. So it is a choice to make. But the assurance I'll give to Ghanaians is that there are options. If he decides to desert his fatherland and go to another place, that is his own story. But the inquiry into criminal enterprises and the allegations will be done. He will be given opportunity for hearing, and he's innocent until determined by a court. That is about that. So it is not a case also to say that the OSP is to prosecute only MPP people. Listen, it might be unfortunate, but the hard truth is that when Sedinam was convicted, she went to the US. They had opportunity to bring her back. They did not do that.
Oh, they did it.
This government is bringing Sedinam back for her to come and answer, right? What she has done, purported to have done, the court has given. There's always legal processes they can go through, and we are saying that we are doing a hard one. So the issue of the red notice being taken up permanently does not mean that the case is not hanging around his neck. All Ghanaians want to see is the truth. Was it that the man has been vilified, or indeed he did some things against the state? But if you look at the National Cathedral, you said it was a private initiative, but you pumped in state resources. Come and answer for it. You don't want to come. You see, and this is why sometimes I say that we have to be very critical, and I always thank President Mahama for the Mahama care, that there are some ailments, right? You don't have, because you're a politician, you have to travel. How about the people, the citizens? We don't know how to travel.
Are you talking about the vice president?
Are you getting it?
The vice president travels out to the country.
Mr.
Are you talking about her?
Mr. Tampoli, Mr. Tampoli, please. Your time is really out.
Yes, because the equipment we needed here to buy, you did not do it. You did not do it. And we are now buying equipment through Mahama Care. We are buying equipment, bringing foreigners. No, there's an exchange program. We bring the experts here to come and train our people so that there will be transfer of knowledge. And that is what is going on to cap what has happened. So I would say that, listen, Ghanaians are impatient now. All they want to see is that their monies have been refunded. Those who are found to have dipped their hands in the public purse, they should be sanctioned and punished.
They should be sanctioned and punished. You say that the MPP government or the former government did not try to extradite Tamaku.
No, yeah.
So the extradition process actually was started in September 2024, before the 2024 general election. Just wanted to mention that the extradition process started in 2024.
When was the conviction? Yes, the process, you know, you need to start the process. But it was how many months to election?
After the conviction.
How many months after the conviction? How many months to election? And we are not saying that, look, let it come.
But it was not even made public.
Right.
Okay,
Mr. Tampoli, please, briefly, in like 30 seconds, if you can wrap up on this, and then we'll touch briefly also on the Burkina issue and what we need to do as a country.
I think that we've said all that we have to say. And basically, I want to look at just the moral, decision, or the moral choice surrounding this whole issue. I feel that where you've not committed a wrong, you don't hide behind, a wrong. So, for instance, if Ken has, the strength and he has the energy, probably he may go the moral choice way and probably decide to get to Ghana on his own evolution. State his case and all that. If it is true that the NDC as a party, the OSP, is trying to persecute him unnecessarily, we will see, and we will know. And then it will give us a clear-cut, view as to whether, political parties come to power, to victimize people unnecessarily or not. Then, of course, it will open up another debate, for discussions.
Indeed. Having landed on that, let me get your thoughts on what happened to the traders in Burkina Faso on Saturday. We understand that a number of people have died, including Ghanaians. We've already seen the statement coming from the Interior Ministry that the government of Ghana is collaborating with the Burkinabe authorities to identify those individuals. But really, this emphasizes the problem of insecurity within the sub-region. And I was saying earlier that data from 2024 shows that 51% of deaths related to terrorism come from the Sahel area. Exactly. And already millions of people have been displaced. And the situation of Burkina Faso, that's just our neighbor to the north. And the instability there since the overthrow of Blaise Compaoré in 2015 and eventually Ibrahim Traoré there. For you, what kind of strategy should we put in place to protect ourselves in the midst of the instability with our neighbor and within the region?
You see, for me, the moment you move into another jurisdiction, your own country or your home country does not really have any protection over you. And what I feel a bit fascinating is that as to whether these traders, had been adequately informed about, the security issues within the northern part of Burkina Faso where they ply their trade. And again, what has Ghana done, to protect Ghanaian traders who move in there and out. I feel strongly that it is because of our own negligence, with regards to some of the things that we have refused to do in the past. Example, developing our agriculture to that level. I don't see why, a desert country could produce tomatoes for a country like Ghana with fertile, lands, to go to Burkina Faso to go and procure or buy, tomatoes. I hear that Ghana's annual demand, consumption demand for tomato is about 800,000, metric tons in a year. And out of which we are producing about 300,000. Okay, very bad. Okay, so it means that about 62.5% or so, is coming from this, the Burkina Faso. Now, what does it mean when we fall short of the over 60%? It means that economically, Ghana is going to suffer. All right. What it means is that our prices on tomatoes on the market is going to shoot up. And I feel that if government knows about this, what has Ghana government done? I hear that there are irrigation projects far north. Is it the VIA irrigation system in Volta region? No, there's one too in Volta region.
Or the Afife.
The Afife, And then, the Afife is used for rice.
Rice, yes.
Okay. But I hear there's about 2 or so projects, irrigation projects up north. What happened to the
Polugu, you mean?
The Polugu one is there, and then there's one other one that the name has actually escaped me. Now, what has happened to this one district? Is it the
1D1F?
No, the other one.
You mean the one by the agricultural transformation?
One village, one dam. What has happened to it? Okay, these are measures or interventions that could probably help us. The Wenchi tomato, factory, what has happened to it and all that. I think that we have sat down on concern, for things to be done anyhow, and we are suffering. Now it has gotten to the point where we are sacrificing human life. Okay, and I feel that we need to do something about it. And if it is about the resetting Ghana's agenda, then one of the areas that we need to look at probably is to how we can develop our agriculture through irrigation and through scientific, technologies, to be able to ensure that, we don't depend on some of these countries where insecurity becomes a matter of concern.
All right. Yes.
I think this whole issue of the Burkinabe issues and the terrorists coming. Terrorists have been endemic in some of the Sahel regions to destabilize mostly because of the military government, and not every foreign country is happy that there have been military. So you see the terrorists and the rest coming in.
And indeed, in Burkina Faso, 40% of the country is not controlled by the state.
Yes. Yes, so that is why exactly I'm sure Traore and the rest came in. They supported the system and felt that the system was not eradicating the problem or ameliorating what happened. But for me, it shows that there will be economic disruption between the countries, and we have to protect life. Because you see, when you travel to the north, they are the same people. Some even go live in Hamile. There is a Hamile in the Upper West, and you go to Paga. They are neighbors. They have. So I think one of the things government should quickly do is to be able to alert the Burkinabe government and find a joint team and see how they can structure to protect the people and promote the economic this thing, because no matter what happens, we'll have to trade.
I know President Mahama appointed the former National Security Coordinator,
Yes.
Lieutenant Ken Ofori Atta,
Bevlo.
as the special envoy
to
the Sahel area.
Yes.
Are you able to tell us perhaps to what extent they are really working to deepen collaboration? Because mind you that Burkina Faso lost some trust for Ghana as a result of what transpired earlier.
It was a rebuilding process that I think that President Mahama, even himself at ECOWAS, was tasked to be able to speak to the Sahel Union, the people over there, so that we'd see how we can also bring them back and see the challenges that can be fought together. And I'm sure Colonel Ofori Atta has been in charge. He has been in charge of security, even in Africa. When he left national security, he was sent to Algeria to look at some of this thing. So I think that falls within his portfolio. The most important thing I've said is the human life. You need to look at the economic and make sure that there will always be trade, and they are always driving. They come here, they are vehicles, and in every border community, it's a feature in every border community that they are miscreants, and they always want to take advantage of people. That's right. Because once you're a foreigner and you are even going to another country, there's some fear and some around you, and the miscreants always want. So I believe that the Minister of Interior should also make sure our institutions, especially the police, the military who are patrolling the borders, are able to shepherd and chaperone these traders. I know a time when we're having problem with this Bole Bamboy to Wa road.
Yeah.
There was always armed robbery on that road. What the police decided was that they packed the number of vehicles, about 20, lead them, escort them, and come back. The other side, I think this can be the temporary measure where our farmers or our traders are going in, and if we have collaboration with the Burkina Faso institution also, they should also to provide the same security. So whilst we are doing this and the people get into Ghana, I'm sure that we will reduce the jihadists, and the people over there will know, and they will feel threatened and know that this is the way we're going. And I think that the posture should be that, look, whilst you are there to destabilize us, when we also get you, there will be annihilation. No. You see, it should be boot for boot, and let them know that we are coming and we are prepared for you.
We are prepared.
I think that is what we should do. But we should not treat it like with kid gloves or want to be nice. No, let the other government also agree that this is the way we want to step up.
Indeed. Mr. Tampoli.
Thank you. I think that I need to extend my condolences to those who lost the families of those who lost their lives and those who got injured in the course of the attack. My information is that almost all the men who were in the vehicle were all killed.
Yes.
And then the females suffered various degrees of injuries. And I think that we have to extend our sympathies to them. Now, the ECOWAS protocol, free movement of people, goods since 1975, 79 or so, provides for citizens of various countries. 90 days, you can stay in another country, you can establish residence, you can do all manner of things. That's in keeping with, who we are prior to the balkanization, and creating of artificial borders. You go to some communities or some towns, somebody has a house, part is in Ghana, part is in Togo. Yeah. You go to Widana, Polomakom area, you can find some of these things. And, some people's farms straddle, both countries. And it's a natural feature that you find across everywhere. So some of these our people feel that, look, we've been doing this for a long time. So even when the borders came, they still don't see them. They still see Burkina Faso as an extension of Ghana. And so they freely go without even seeking, any guidance as far as the security situation is concerned. But what is important for us as a country is to protect ourselves against any spillover into our jurisdiction. And I think the security, architecture has been very, very tight over the years. Now this is an area that we don't compromise, and we don't even put politics in here when it comes to some of these issues. So the security situation should be continuously assessed, and then rapid responses provided. This is likely to cause us some serious economic disruptions. All right, these traders would no longer be going. Those who are coming to Ghana may not also be coming sometime because of some of this distraction. Nobody would walk into Burkina Faso again thinking that, look, I may be the next person to be attacked, and that's going to affect us one way or the other.
Yeah, Jerry.
So border security, transport security, and just like my brother Victor mentioned, we need to put in place some temporary measures to be able to escort some of these trucks every now and again. But it has wider regional implications, because when you have instability across, chances are that you'll be the next. Okay, chances are that you'll be the next. And even without you being the next, there is a possibility that your country will become, an oasis where people are going to come in as refugees. So one way or the other, even though you are not part of the conflict, you are bearing the brunt of the conflict. So we have to extend, whatever support that we have for our brothers, in Burkina Faso, share intelligence, and more or less find ways of nipping in the bud some of these jihadist activities that we have in the sub-region. Insecurity in one country is insecurity to all of us.
Indeed.
It's a collective action that we must all take in order to be able to deal with this situation.
Thank you. Let me get your thoughts, Apia Dankwa, briefly.
Yeah, so let me say that I agree with all of their views.
Yes.
I agree with everything they have said. And just to add that, for me, it what then becomes very important for us to look at ECOWAS again. Yeah, you understand? In fact, if there's a time for us to be speaking about African Union, you understand? If there's a time for us to strengthen ECOWAS, I think that the time is now. Because already, there are beliefs that the only reason why we have not been attacked was they come and reorganize.
The haven, as it were.
Yeah, in Ghana. So it's not like we are doing some magic. So whenever there's this insecurity, always pick a country to be where they come and reorganize. Probably just like that. Not like you come like that, they have business. Now, for me, we have a situation where Burkina Faso is not part of ECOWAS.
Yeah.
Burkina Faso is not part of ECOWAS. And
Mali and
Niger are not part of. Yeah, and we've also allowed ECOWAS, West Africa, to become the playground once again for the geopolitics to be played, and we're all seeing the consequence. I think we must hasten efforts to solve whatever issues that caused Burkina, Niger, Mali to leave ECOWAS in the first place. I think I must commend the president for taking serious steps at leading that effort. And like I already said again, I think, we organize AU, I think you were prosperity, what's it called, Africa Prosperity Initiative. Yeah. I've also organized this because if there's a time for us to be united as Africa, real unity, then the time is now, because the geopolitics of this world is being rewritten. In all the previous times, we didn't take part.
Thank you.
But now we have the opportunity to take. So let us join, and then once we do that, we will be in a better position to deal with the fundamental issues that is causing all these.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Lawyer Andrew Apia Dankwa, Head of Legal for the United Party. Thank you for coming in and for sharing your thoughts with us. Dr. Bernard Tutubuahin, political strategist, thank you. It's always great to have you here. And of course, to you as well, Al-Hassan Tampoli, Member of Parliament for Gushewu, also private legal practitioner. Lawyer, thank you for joining us as well.
Thank you.
And we've also had Mr. Victor Kojoga Adaudu, private legal practitioner, member of the NDC legal team. He had to take a leave of us earlier. But thank you, gentlemen, for coming in and joining in the conversation. Let me say happy birthday to Nanaya Jantwa, presidential staffer. Today is your birthday. We wish you all the best for the day and the year ahead. But a number of you have sent us your messages, so I'll just read just a few of the messages that you sent in. Aziz Donla says, what happened to citizens plowing through the Burkina border who were killed is unacceptable and must not be tolerated. I'm not able to read more of your messages, but thank you so much for sending in your messages. My name is Beatrice. So to stay with us, we're back with some